I forgot to tell you, Cornell, tonight we're talking about something bad. If you know me, you know I have 3 young children. If you don't know me, you know I have 3 young children because I just said that 10 seconds ago. But, it's always a good entry point for me. I think on almost any topic, I can find some way to sort of relate my kids and my journey as a father into this. And so I want to start talking about when I became a dad. A lot of things that seemed unfathomable to me or about me sort of happened instantaneously. Like, just started noticing a few white hairs in my beard kind of overnight. That was strange. Noticed I cared a lot more about the thermostat, which was also bizarre, but or maybe people are messing with the thermostat more than before, but I noticed obsessively, which is something my dad did. I noticed that I walk around the house in my underwear with no shirt on, which is not embarrassing for my kids yet. They're 4 and 2 and 3 months old, but surely when they get to be teenagers, that will be quite awful. But it's almost these dad isms that I don't know, growing up and then seeing other people's dads and seeing my own dad, I always thought it was these kind of lame or weird or kind of, I don't know, why does every dad do this? Why does every dad click the tongs 3 times before flipping something on the grill? And I don't know, but I do it now. And it's, I guess this is one of those things. And among all of these dad things, I've noticed that my sense of humor seems to have gotten progressively lamer and just awful bad jokes are so funny to me now. And almost the more my wife is like, oof, the funnier it is to me. So you may have heard this, but what did the Buddhists say to the hot dog vendor? Make me one with everything. Thank you, Bobby. Non-Dad Miguel hates that joke. Dad Miguel, that's great. And I guess the point about this that I'm bringing is there's sort of been this element, I think, about being a dad, and maybe it's just about being around these children who are naturally sort of happy, and that's their default mode. I mean, I guess they have a couple default modes, you know, happy, crapping their pants, screaming, happy again. It's sort of just a cycle, right? But something about being around them keeps snapping me back out of whatever story I have going in my head, because I can tell you that a lot of times the story of Miguel, that nobody in the world hears except me, because it's this sort of constant narrative that's going on. A lot of times it's heavy and it's hard, and there's struggle and there's things to figure out, and there's no time to figure it out, and there's exhaustion, and there's just this insurmountable pile of just shit to deal with all the time. And then I see my kids and I'm like, oh, maybe these stories I've been telling me aren't as real as they think they are, or as I think they are. Maybe it's okay to kind of take myself a little less seriously. And I find that when I do take myself less seriously, when I can kind of see things from a different perspective, you know, it's actually not such a heavy, dark, awful story, the story of Miguel. And it's not this, we're always told of like the hero's journey, and you got to like dig in and figure something out or fix some sort of problem. But when you see your kids, it's a little bit more, maybe the problem is I've got this booger in my nose and I don't know how to get it out. And the absurdity of being a human being, and the amount of fun I think that we can have with it when we reframe a little, is a really refreshing thing to me. So today I want to talk about fun, because I'm not sure we're having enough fun, generally speaking. And I want to be clear that there's sort of a difference between fun, like meaningful, joyful, good experiences that make our lives better, and sort of fun in the way we loosely talk about, turning on Netflix and distracting ourselves from whatever stuff we think we have going on. I want to talk about the type of fun that enriches our lives and makes it something worth living, right? So for the newsletter went on, it was like, oh, you're speaking this Sunday. I was like, oh shit, I forgot I'm speaking this Sunday. And I knew quickly, I've been thinking about fun lately, and I've been thinking about, okay, we gotta go do fun stuff. So the other day, while the older two kids were in daycare, I was like, let's go bowling. Let's take the kids bowling. And it's been this theme these last few weeks of trying to have fun. But the thing that came up, because it's always like, can you send us a paragraph about your talk? That's like, oh man, how do I approach this? And I started thinking about this show, Whose Line Is It Anyway? Which, if you know the show, it was kind of a show about nothing, right? Seinfeld was a show about nothing, and a lot of the best things in life, I think, are about nothing. And so the premise of that show is basically, here's a panel of comedians and actors, and Drew Carey was the host, and here's a suggestion from the audience. Okay, act out a scene. And I think that maybe the greatest part about this game show, outside of they were making everything up while they were going, is that Drew Carey would just arbitrarily hand out points. And then at the end of the game, he would just randomly choose someone who won with zero relation to the points. So the tagline to the show is always, the show where everything's made up and the points don't matter. And I got to thinking about, what a beautiful analogy for our time here as human beings, because it's really easy for us to think about consequences and whether we're wasting our time or we're wasting our lives, and we want to feel like we did something that mattered, but mattered to who? Who do we think is sitting around awarding us points of like, you did a good job being a human being, silver medal or whatever we think this thing might exist? Who are we trying to impress? Who are we trying to make happy, if not ourselves, right? And we can kind of sit around and ponder for a long time about what's going to happen when we die. And all kinds of theories on that. Some people think that, you're either going to like the shiny cloud place or the fiery heavy metal place. Some people think, if you live good this time, next time it'll be better, or next time it'll be worse. Some people think, you're just going to turn into dust, and that's maybe the end of it, or you join universal oneness or whatever it might be. But a few facts about that is, one, we have no idea. Anyone who who has directly experienced it isn't around to tell us what happens, right? And I think the second point is that maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe no matter which one of these scenarios you could possibly end up at, as long as you live a happy life, you're going to be all right. Because if we think about like the shiny cloud place, if you live a truly happy life, you're not living a life where you're trampling over other people and ruining other people's lives for your own gain. If you have a truly happy life, you're probably going to end up at the shiny cloud place if it exists. If you think reincarnation is what's going to happen to you, if you live a truly happy life, same thing. Karmically, you'll probably have the conditions to have a truly happier life the next time. And if you just turn to dust, also doesn't matter. So there's this tendency, I think, to take life very seriously and to take ourselves very seriously. And I don't want to undermine the fact that, you know, there are real problems in this world, and there are real problems in our own lives. But I think that from a Buddhist perspective, that just the fact that we have these problems that we get to experience or deal with is something to be happy about on some level. That it's opportunities for a deeper level of awakening and a deeper possibility of being happy. And I can give you an example from my own life. Again, if you know me, you're aware that my mother died when I was 16 and my sister died when I was 17. If you don't know me, now you know that because I just said that 10 seconds ago. But I can tell you that those two deaths and many other deaths in my life, people very close to me since then, it's been incredibly awful. It's beyond words how much that hurts. But I can tell you that because of these experiences and because of my practice, I'm able to have a relatively happy life despite these very profound losses. And in fact, the more I sit with it and the more I dig with it, you know, it's been 20 years. The more I realize I'm actually in a weird, twisted way, able to have a happier life because I've suffered so deeply. And it's this great enigma that I think Buddhist teachings have been trying to show us all along, that we're not really suffering because of the way things are. We're suffering because we want things to be different than they are, because we can't accept that things are impermanent, because we're always afraid of what might happen. We're holding on to what has already happened, and this keeps us disconnected from whatever there is in this present moment. And the amazing thing about fun is if we're really truly having fun, we are here. We're connected very deeply to this present moment. And you know, obviously it's impossible to have fun all day, every day. And I know some people who try to live that way, and they suffer very deeply. And in a way, they're running away from whatever pain or experiences they have to have by trying to drown it out with what they think is fun. But for me, in my own experience, really true fun is very closely related to mindfulness. It's very closely related to non-self and non-thinking, and to just being present with something that's happening. Let's use bowling. I just went bowling. You could go bowling twice and have completely opposite experiences, depending on how you relate to the situation, how you relate to the people around you. You know, one time it could be this like, great, we're having so much fun. Where did the time go? Why does time go so fast when we're having fun? Or a different set of circumstances, that exact same scenario with those exact same people can feel like such an empty, excruciating, boring waste of time in life. And that has to do with clinging and trying to force things to be something other than they are. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it's more about changing your relationship to whatever is going on. Fun is about that. Mindfulness is about that. And there are elements about we should be going out of our way to do things that are fun every day. We should be having more fun than we are. And we should be putting forth the effort to go on a bike ride, go outside, watch a movie because you actually want to watch a movie, not because your day sucks so bad and the only thing you have energy to do is lay on the couch and turn on Netflix. But do it because I've been meaning to watch this movie, because it's fun to get lost in a movie or a book, because it's a way that you can connect to yourself or connect to other people or connect to the present moment rather than a distraction you use to numb yourself or disconnect. I think this often, and I probably say it often. I repeat myself often, but for me, the truest definition of Dharma, and you hear this word Dharma a lot, and it means different things to the yogis and the Buddhists, and you know the teachings of the Buddha sometimes, or some people think of it as the truth or your life's path. But for me, I think the truest definition of Dharma is that ordinary, simple life is something very special, and that it's our, I don't want to say it's our duty, but it's in our best interest to pay attention to that and to connect to that, because it's such a wonderful, weird thing to be a human being. And sometimes, and again, the kids, I think, are a good reminder, but some things about being a human are just so weird and goofy and funny. If you just take a step back, like think about your toes, or my toes in particular. I have a little fuzz on the top of my toes, slightly hobbit-like or whatever, but it's such a curious, weird, neat flesh thing. Like if there is intelligent design, that's weird. I'm not sure I would have thought of that, but we're just kind of weird, fleshy, blobby, awkward, hairy, sneezy, farty, whatever it is we are. Physical human being is a silly, ridiculous thing. And so on that level, maybe we can take ourselves a little less seriously. But if you also, again, step back from it in a lighthearted way, not as judgmental, everyone's doing it wrong except me, but a very light way, take a step back and realize certainly all of my problems aren't as heavy or as devastating as I think they are. Every little thing that happens to me doesn't have to be this tidal wave of like, I'm gonna die. No, everything's great. Everything's shit. Everything's fantastic. It doesn't have to be such a roller coaster. If you can look at it from the right perspective, 95% of your problems aren't so bad. In fact, a lot of them are just kind of silly. And you know that feeling when you're well rested, you've had a good night's sleep. Do you know? Can someone explain what that's like to me? Because I haven't felt that way in 4 years. But that feeling of nothing is so heavy, of a Sunday morning day off, well rested, wake up when you want to wake up, and the problems of the world only exist on Instagram or news or whatever it might be, before it all starts to pour into your head. But this feeling of lightness, it's accessible to us. It's there more than we think it's there, and we're very fortunate, I think, to have practices that teach us how to connect to and access those things. We're very fortunate for the practice of sitting meditation. We're very fortunate because we can sit on meditation cushion and we could have the worst, most painful thought in the world, stabbing us in the brain or whatever painful thoughts do, attacking us. And if we allow ourselves to sit there and not do anything about it and just be present for it, we can realize, hey, on some level, that's just a thought. Is this thought going to kill me? Sometimes it feels like a thought can kill you. But the practice of meditation can show you that thought can't kill me, and neither can actually any other thought. And once you take away the power of thoughts to kill you, you can lessen the power of thoughts to hurt you, or to, at the very least, make you suffer. And if you can see that in yourself, you can see it in other people. You can see that other people's thoughts and words and actions have very little to do with you, even if they're directed toward you. You have some amount of power to choose. I'm going to let this devastate me, or I'm going to choose to be happy anyway. And again, it's not necessarily as simple as choosing to be happy. We can't always choose to be happy, but we can nurture these qualities with our meditation practice. We can nurture these qualities by giving ourselves time to rest, time to do nothing, time to reset, time where we're actively just doing something fun just for the sake of doing something fun. Nothing to achieve, nothing to fix, nothing to solve, just I'm going to go bowling because I want to go bowling. And I'm not particularly good at bowling, but doesn't matter. The only person who might think that I'm a bad person because I'm a bad bowler is me. And we can take that a little step further and think, okay, even if there is some, let's say there's just some asshole out there whose job it actually is to determine whether or not you're a good person based off of whether or not you're a good bowler. Their opinion only matters if you allow it to matter. There's a series of agreements that we never made. We were taught other people's opinions matter. We were taught that if you do things a certain way, you're good. If you don't do things, you're bad. Very rarely were we ever taught that you are a valuable, inherently good human being, no matter what you've done and no matter what you will do, that this is your true essence and that you deserve to be happy, that you deserve to be fun or have fun, and that your happiness or your level of fun is nobody else's responsibility but your own. But it's also nobody else's to take away from you. So. I get caught in this one quite a bit. I get caught quite a bit in this cycle of like, okay, what's up with my yoga practice and my meditation practice? What's up with my self-study and reading and self-improvement and just piles and piles of books and you know, how can I be better? How can I don't know, reach my potential, whatever I imagine that to be. And recently I was in a bookstore and immediately into like the self-help and the Eastern religion sections like I always do. And after wandering those two sections, at some point I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go grab a Stephen King book. And I did. And you know how much fun I had reading that book, how much more I actually kind of woke up by just allowing myself to read a book just for the sake of reading a book and enjoying a book. I got more from that than I probably would have from another 10 or 20, everyday Zen or No Mud, No Lotus. These are great books. They're very valuable, but at some point we have to give the self-improvement a break. And you have to just enjoy where you are and who you are and what's going on in your life, because you've come a long way. You worked hard to get here. Allow yourself to enjoy it once in a while. So I'll leave you with a couple thoughts, or I guess quotes is the right word. And this first one, it's a translation of the Atisha slogans. It's one in particular. So Atisha was a Chinese Buddhist teacher about 500 BC, or very famous for taking a lot of what were thought to be the Buddhist teachings and simplifying them into like one sentence things for you to contemplate. And the practice is you have a different slogan each day, and that's your contemplation. And so one of them is always maintain only a joyful mind. And a translation that I guess translation is not the right word, but some thoughts that I read about that was constantly apply cheerfulness, if for no other reason than because you are on this spiritual path. Have a sense of gratitude to everything, even difficult emotions, because of their potential to wake you up. So we can see, again, this, our problems aren't going to stop. We're going to get hurt. We're going to have very painful experiences in this life, but I think the Buddha teaches us that that's a good thing on some level, because it helps us wake up, because it helps us connect very deeply and have what we can call perhaps a meaningful life. If you were just born silver spoon in your mouth and everything was perfect and great all the time, you wouldn't appreciate any of it. I said I was going to give you two, but I'll give you three. The second one, I think often about this lecture of Alan Watts that I heard one time, where he was talking about, imagine that you were God and that you create everything and you can do anything you want. So when you discover you have this magical power, probably for the first several thousand lifetimes, you're just like, okay, I'm going to create this life, and I'm going to go to all the parties, beaches, whatever your idea of fun is. Everything is fun all the time. And after doing that a few million times, you're probably so bored that you're like, okay, let's try something different. Let's throw a problem that I have to solve into the equation. But that game doesn't work if you know that you're God, because if you're God, you're just like, oh, there's a problem, boom, problem solved. So the game is more, you have to forget what you are. Because then it becomes a real game, right? And so if you were this boundless God with infinite lifetimes and infinite powers, you would probably at some point decide you wanted to have every experience imaginable. And so sometimes I like to imagine, I don't know, again, what happens when we die, but I like to imagine that if this is true, then right now I decided that I wanted to be Miguel Chen, having this experience of sitting at the Dallas Meditation Center and having this particular journey. And in that sense, good or bad gets a little lighter. It gets a little, this is just something I'm doing right now. This is a game I'm playing. But something to contemplate. And the third one, and then I'll shut up, I promise, is by Robert Thurman, a Buddhist scholar who, I'll just read it. He said at one point, the main objective in Buddhism is for people to gain a true sense of optimism about themselves and their life, which I think is, it's a different way to look at it. But this idea of enlightenment and waking up or whatever we think it might be, does it matter if we're not having fun? Do you want to just be enlightened, super serious guy with a joyless, boring life? Probably not. So I have a friend who used to always say, if you're not having fun, you're not having fun. And I agree. I mean, obviously, it's a stupid sentence, but you know, the point being, like, if we're not enjoying our lives and we're not having fun, like at the end of the day, we can accomplish anything. And what's the point? So I want to encourage everyone to stop thinking of life as just a series of problems that you need to fix or you need to solve, but maybe more a series of opportunities to try and find the good, or to take it easy on yourself, or actively have fun. That's what I got for you today. Thank you. You want me to stay up here?
Yes,
I figured. All right. So